Hello, 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 and welcome to the Muskego Crit. This is the category 3-4 race. Muskego is just a local crit up here in Wisconsin, and it's in a park. So it's nice big wide roads. There's really only one corner, and you'll see when the map pops up, it's a nice kind of loop. So it's a really good kind of introduction for crit riding because you have all the kind of pack dynamics, but without kind of the sketchy corner stuff. But you have a little corner, so you can practice if you want. Just to recap for me, again, I am a Cat 3, have been for a long time, and have got pretty good power for a Cat 3, but pretty average watts per kg, so you can do the math on that. And I'm on the Brazen Dropouts team here, which is that kit of the blue kit of the rider, front right of me. That's Andy. He's just joined the team this year, and we're off. So I started way in the back because of my own fault, but I wasn't that worried about it because I knew the roads here are super wide, and because there's no corners to kind of cause an accordion effect right away. So I figured I could just kind of move up when the opportunity presented itself. And the roads are a little wet here. It had been raining, but again, the cornering is not really an issue because there's not really corners. And it had been drying out, so this is overall just a pretty solid course. So I see on the left here, this looks like a good little window for me to kind of bot my way up towards the front. And I really wanted to be at the front as early as possible because I was thinking this race is going to be won by a breakaway, and I wanted BD to be a part of that. So I definitely, I did a little bit of an effort in the win there, but we weren't really, attacking super hard. So it was definitely worth the energy to move up on the outside there. And so the reason I thought it was going to be a breakaway was, one, this course is really breakaway friendly, which is a little weird because it's not technical at all. And, normally a breakaway likes a course that a peloton has a tougher time kind of getting through than a couple riders. But this course, it's kind of weird because it's got this big old downhill, which you would think a group would go faster down than a break. But for whatever reason, breakaways win here all the time. And looking at the start list, I could see that there were a couple teams, but no teams had more than like 3 or 4 guys. And it also looked like who I had pegged as kind of the strongest riders in the race, they were from those teams. So I figured those guys would be interested in a break anyway. And there was enough of a kind of a team presence that once the break was formed and had riders from those teams, it was going to be really difficult to organize a chase behind just with a bunch of kind of solo riders or people with like one teammate. So I was thinking breakaway, and this first lap here, I kind of just put in a little bit of an effort up the hill. So the other thing is there's a hill in this course. It's kind of a long uphill drag. It's not super steep, but I put in a little bit of an effort. I wasn't trying to, get a gap necessarily, just trying to make it a little harder than it had been. And then this guy attacks, and everyone just kind of chills out until he gets followed that rider is Hayden there that just followed that attack. And Hayden is new to crit racing as far as I know, but he is very, very, very strong. And I also figured, if he's in the race, like this course, it's a course where if you're just kind of fit and strong, you really can just kind of flex on the peloton because you have to go up that hill every lap, and if you can just make that really hard, eventually the elastic will snap. So yeah, I figured, if there's a break, he's probably going to be in it, and if he's in the break, he's going to be driving it, and it's going to be really, really, really hard to bring back. So the easier solution is just be in the break with him. So he's just sitting on the front. You can kind of see we get going pretty quick here. We're kind of single file strung out, and that's again just kind of a sign of Hayden's strengths here. But yeah, the other teams here, Adapt is the rider in front of me. That's Eric, not me, Eric, different Eric. And then the rider in front of him, he's on the Hollander team. They're the orange and blue kits. And so I figured, just looking at the start list and knowing this course, I was like, I bet a break of Brazen Dropouts, my team, Adapt, Hollander, and Hayden, that'll go the distance, I bet. And I bet even like 2 out of those 3 teams, I bet that would also go the distance, just because it would be really hard to organize with only a handful of guys to bring back a pretty motivated group of strong riders. Yeah, so for BD in this race, we had me, we had new teammate Andy, who I mentioned at the start, and then we also had Doug doing his second race of the day, and Kenny as well, who I talked with Doug and Kenny a little bit before the race, and they were saying this is, mostly for training, so they probably weren't going to be in full attack mode, which makes sense and is fine. But right on the right here, this bad bikes rider goes on the hill, and I'm a little concerned about this. Like, it's none of the teams I mentioned, right? But I don't know this rider, and this is definitely a course where just a really strong rider can solo the whole race. I've seen it happen. It happened, I think, at the Masters race on the same day. And so I'm like, well, should I chase? I don't know. I'm a little tired. I don't really want to chase it back. And then right on cue, teammate Andy just launches to follow that attack. And that's so nice because it takes all the decision making off of my shoulders, right? Now I only have one thing to do, which is just follow everyone else and be ready to, attack if he gets brought back, or if not, then I'm just going to chill and kind of make chasing annoying. But some riders going to the left here, they're trying to bring it back. The Hollander guys, you can see, are on it. They kind of know that I'm not going to work, and they're interested in bringing that back. So they put a pretty big dig, and I'll fast forward a bit in a second here. They're trying pretty hard. Like, I don't know if they would say fully committed, but they are definitely not messing around. So it takes a good bit of effort for these front guys to pull this back. And sitting fifth wheel here, it's just kind of, it's not easy, but it's not super hard being fifth wheel there. So I feel in a pretty good position. And coming out of this turn, you can't really see it, but the Hollander rider in front of me, he kind of lets his teammate's wheel go as his teammate launches. And I was pretty slow on the uptake here. I was like, oh, kind of weird that he's trying to bridge to this group that we're about to catch. And I was like, oh, that's no bridge. That's an attack. And so then I launch to try and get on his wheel, just, again, doing the attack counterattack thing. And I definitely have to go harder than was strictly necessary, just because it took me, 2 or 3 or 4 seconds longer than it should have to realize that I should follow this wheel. So it was a pretty solid effort. I feel a little gassed, and then at the top of the hill, I look back and look who it is. It's Hayden on my wheel, and then it's the adapt rider Eric on his wheel. And as soon as I saw like this little group, and we had a pretty, a decent sized gap, I was like, all right, like this is the break. This is gonna go the distance. I know Eric and Jake, and I think they know me, and I was absolutely willing to work with them. And I think Hayden just loves to ride hard, so I knew he would work too. So I was like, all right, sweet, cool, we did it. And then, giving you a little more, I guess, information about who these riders are. So in front of me, that's Eric. He is a really strong breakaway rider, very aero, loves to just kind of get after it in a breakaway. There's me, who I would really prefer a sprint, and preferably one where I was not working all that hard before it. Behind me, that's Jake. He's a really solid all-around rider. He can climb, he can sprint. He's been doing this for a long time, so he's pretty savvy. And then Hayden is new to crits, but super duper duper strong. So place your bets on who's going to win, because, spoiler, this is the break, and I've just kind of jumped to, this is like 4 laps to go or something. And I'll recap how it went. So for me, about halfway through, I started to really feel this hill. It was getting hard to just hold the wheel up the hill, and then with only 4 guys, it was tough to get recovery on the downhill, especially because the way we were rotating, like my pole ended up being kind of on the downhill. And so even if I could sit in the wheels, it was tough because there wasn't much draft, but then I was still working on the downhill. So for, the first half of the break here, I was, committed to making sure it got away. But at some point, I started realizing I was going to get dropped if I kind of continued pulling hard on the downhills. And we also didn't really need it because we had a huge gap. And so at some point, I just kind of stopped taking pulls, which uh, the other guys just kind of were, I don't know, they didn't do a ton about. They didn't try and drop me. They didn't try and yell at me. They was like, all right, which was very nice of them. So thanks, guys. And if I were in better shape, this would be some just classic big brain breakaway stuff, where lazy sprinters skips pulls so you can dust everyone at the end. Unfortunately for me, I was telling the truth, and I really was suffering. Yeah, not the big brain move it could have been. Let's see. There's also there's a little bit of discussion about just like taking pulls versus attacking, and every breakaway, you're friends in the break until you're not, right? And where's that threshold of when do you stop cooperating and start trying to win? It can be a little blurry. All right, so we're coming into one lap to go here, and I'll just show you the whole last lap. At this point, I don't really know what to do because I don't feel confident that I can beat these guys in a uphill sprint, which it is. This is the finish line right here. I also don't feel like I have a very good sprint at all. I kind of just feel in the legs that like I don't really have much of a snap left. Been riding pretty hard, haven't been able to get a ton of rest, so the legs feel pretty sapped, and I don't really feel like I can win a sprint. But also, what else am I going to do, right? Where at this point, just kind of soft pedaling and just, noodling around, waiting for the end of the race to happen. And I will admit the thought crossed my mind of, wow, sure would be nice if there were one fewer rider in here, then we could all be on the podium. And following on of like was choosing to have this be the break that I don't think I could win out of. Was that just best decision? But you know what? Let's just like you gotta go with the moves. Like I knew a break was gonna win, and I thought there was a good chance I could win out of that. So anyway, so it's kind of we're just noodling around, like I said, giving a little bit of a fist bump of just like, hey, we made it. Fun riding the break. We made the best man win type stuff, and so coming into this downhill here again, I don't really have a plan. Like I'm just soft pedaling the front, just why not? And then we kind of hit this steeper part of the downhill, and my momentum starts kind of pulling me, and you can see behind here there's a little bit of a discussion about something, presumably who's gonna hop on my wheel that's on the tiny gap that's opening. And at some point here I look back and I see I have like this 1 second gap, and then I say, well, I don't want to sprint, and let's just try the good old 1 minute max power attack, where you just go a minute out from the line and just bury it. And sometimes the group behind, they look at each other for just enough time that you can get away, or sometimes they none of them want to chase and you just win easily. So it can work. I've seen it work, and I figured, this is my match. Let's burn it, see what happens. So unfortunately, as you can kind of see in the rear view here, Hayden is on it, and he is just dragging me back, relentlessly pursuing. And right about now, he makes contact, and the other guys are on his wheel, and they just zip on by me to go have fun with the sprint. And I stand up and I try and go with them, but I did like 4 seconds at 700 watts or something, and then my legs were just toast. So I got to watch the podium sprint away from this race angle here, and it's a little bit of a bummer to do the whole race in the break and then not get in the podium. That said, I think just with how the race went and how I was feeling and just where my fitness is at right now, it kind of felt like the right outcome, honestly. I don't think there's a ton I could have done differently, and those guys did a lot of the work in the break anyway. So that was super fun. I really, I am proud of the fact that I could kind of see where the race was going and be in position to be a part of the winning breakaway. And I really liked the team tactics thing we got to do earlier in the race. This the attack, counterattack stuff. Like it's people talk about it because it works, and it's really fun to have a team we can do that with. So looking forward to racing the rest of the year with these guys, and thanks for watching.